Welcome back, everybody. Backlash Radio. Anthony Pino from the Blood Money and Hook Optics. My pal from the 305, Nick Carullo. How you doing, buddy?
What's going on? How you doing?
Doing well, man. Season's coming to an end. I'm hoping to go one more day end of the week, but we had a decent day last Wednesday, which was nice. One of my bosses made it down and caught bunch of mahis, 3 white marlins, and had a blue marlin paddle in on us when we had a bunch of mahis on. Came to the teaser. I saw them on the sonar. Like went by the lobster balls that kind of basically fads, and I was just had mahis everywhere. And I saw this thing, and I was like, I'm just gonna keep on driving to it. And then it was such a disaster by the time I got to it. There's mahis jumping everywhere, and we marked him on the bottom machine. I'm like, I'm pretty sure he's back there, and he fired in on the teaser, and couldn't get in the switch, but still fun. I couldn't believe that it didn't eat a mahi like they typically do. For us.
Surprised.
But yeah, I was happy. I think it was October 5th. Catch 3 white marlins out of 3, double and a single, pile of mahis, lose a couple wahoos. So pretty.
How's it been for the fleet up there?
It's been okay. There's like this anomaly of water that pushed in off the Gulf Stream that pushed north, and it just like left a band of water from the Norfolk Canyon all the way to the Wilmington, and it's still there just above the Wilmington, between the Wilmington and the Spencer. It's 81 degree, pretty blue water. And there's some fish in it. It's not like red hot because it was moving very, very quickly, but I think since we've come off the moon, things have slowed down. So the water has slowed down. So there was some good fishing today. Tunas and wahoos, mahis. So I just really want to catch some wahoos. For Chris Ragney, big supporter on the Bill Slayer out of Indian River, big supporter of Hook Optics, caught 10 wahoos and 2 yellowfins in a morning before this cold front came, which was pretty badass. So
nice.
Pretty good fishing on him, man. That's awesome.
Oh yeah.
So he charges it 43 Cabo, probably the best charter boat at Indian River, not North Carolina, Indian River, Delaware. So he does very well for what he's working with. So cool, man. Got a couple listener questions and topic that we're going to talk about. I guess we can jump right into the topic. Fads. So I was fishing off of some fads. I guess lobster pots are fads that come and go, so they're not permanently there. But we did catch a white marlin, and we did see that blue marlin off those fads. Or off not the lobster pots, and we killed a bunch of mahis. So
Mark the Cabia style.
Yeah, oh yeah, we backed up, got the spinners out, went real charter boat on them. Almost nothing. I it was October. What am I gonna do? Like, I wanted to catch some meat. I gotta catch some meat for the lady because she only eats fish. So
there you go.
I gotta get her protein. We gotta stock up for the winter.
Sorry.
So
gotta get your diet in check.
Yeah. So those are a day saver here up here. Sometimes you find something floating, or you hop from ball to ball, lobster pot to lobster pot, and you do it. And now, like, if you're patient enough, and especially with the sonars, if you fish off of them a little bit, you can definitely get your fair share of marlin bites. It's not as good as like somewhere like DR or Costa Rica, or even further south, like where Michael DeFreites is fishing down in St. Lucia, where I think if they were there constantly, they would hold more fish. But I also think, and this is what I really wanted to talk about, was that I also think that they would get get picked clean constantly, because nothing really hides here in Ocean City. There's such a volume. When we do have the right conditions and the right weather, there's such a volume of people that fish out of here. It's like, whatever's happening is going to get crushed pretty quickly by just the sheer volume of boats. So
well, I mean, it'll be like one day it's good and one day it's not good.
Yeah. And then you got to basically wait for, like, typically the balls, or you got to wait for a big weather event to come and then hit it right after, because then they load up again if the right conditions are around it. But here's such a condition oriented fishery that, it doesn't really matter. But like, I'm still thankful that we don't have like permanently based fads like they're doing in Texas and Puerto Rico and in the DR. I don't know. What's your experience? I mean, you spent plenty of time in the DR.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to fish to something,
Yeah.
But it could,
I mean,
I see both sides. A lot of guys don't like it, frown upon it, but
I mean, the way I look at it, like, if you're new to having a sonar, I think taking your boat to the DR is probably the best place to go and really learn how to use it, because you get like captive targets and you really understand how to approach a fish. And it's really taken the Dominican fishing from, pretty average to what can be amazing fishing.
yeah.
Like before this fads, you'd hear about the fishing in there, and they had the springtime white marlin and the mixed bag fishing out there on the rocks. This is 15 plus years ago. And it was good. Don't get me wrong. It was definitely good for what people were used to back then. But then they started putting the fads out there, and it became a completely different fishery, and it improved the fishery.
Yeah.
So, but that place, like, I feel like I didn't realize when we went there a couple years ago, that there's like, if you get 10 boats fishing and out of either Casa de Campo or Cap Cana, like out on the fads, that's a lot of boats, like it's just not that much pressure.
Yeah, I mean, out of Cap Cana, I mean, I can't really speak so much of a Casa combo, but Cap Cana, I mean, you have a lot more water, because you could fish all the way from the east, and then you could run 30, 40 miles west, and there's a lot of ground you could cover inside, offshore. I mean, you could it you need a lot of boats out of Cap Cana to really make it feel busy, which it can't happen though, because I mean, right now the marina is completely full.
Really? Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, it's become, just the past few years, it's become such a hot spot,
Yeah. It's definitely, I don't know. I just feel like I don't think they get fish to the point where, like, have you ever noticed there, going back before my point, have you ever noticed like a string of fads being good, and then like maybe you and maybe one or two other boats hit it and like have great fishing, and then do you feel like you could go back to that group of fads every day, or do you have to fish there and then the fish like change their behavior after they're caught and then they move on, and then you got to go find another group that hasn't been bothered yet?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it'll be good for maybe a couple days.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be like really good for more days on end. But sometimes if you do have a lot of bait on it, and let's say you do catch a bunch of fish there one day, I mean, I wouldn't say you could go there again and just wear them out again, but you could probably rely on seeing another fish or two on that fad because of all that bait, and you're just gonna get some fresh fish to swim by because of all the bait there.
I gotcha.
The bait is there. I mean, and you learn, especially with the sonar, the bait has so much to do with those fads. Like you could pull up to a fad and it's clear, and you don't even do a donut around it. Just keep going. Go to the next one. No bait, just keep going. And then you mark one with bait, and then it's like, all right, let me do a few laps around it or something, see if I can't mark a couple fish. But with the sonar there, it's just made it nice.
I found it like fishing next to James salty fare, he really understood, dealing with the fishing with the condition, like understanding the conditions and where he knew the fads were, how to, work a string of fads very, very efficiently. So like, he didn't waste any time. So you just, like you were saying, you find you go through them and you don't mark anything. You just kind of move on with your life, then you find a good one and and I think there's a trick to being good at fishing there. Don't get me wrong. But a lot of it has to do with not missing fish and understanding how to work the fads and see the fucking things. Like the first like 3 or 4 days there, I couldn't see them. Like everything's white because it's just rough as shit every day. And then like I was like, man, and then I see something on the sonar and be like, oh, there's a fad, But I wouldn't. But like I was like lost. It's like, where are these things?
Yeah. It takes you a little getting dialed in and
Yeah.
looking at them and everything, but there's definitely something to like working a string of fads,
Mhm.
like because like there could be a few days where you just basically work the same string,
Yeah.
and like that's a certain string sometimes will be super super productive, but the problem is if you're catching them there a couple days in a row, it's just a matter of time till there's 3, 4, 5 boats starting to kind of come in on your string, because
Yeah.
typically you're calling in those fish every time you catch one, just to be courteous.
Yeah.
um but yeah, I mean, but yeah, if not, you just keep traveling and stuff. And you'll see a lot of guys too, like Salty Fairy, they'll work their string and where they've been wearing them out the last few days, and all of a sudden you'll see them they'll wind them up and run 20 miles, and
Yeah.
just get to a whole new body of water.
Yeah. So getting to why I wanted to talk about it, like I've heard in Costa Rica, like, they got there's big fads that are way out there. And like I feel like these are what you fish in the DR, like more like artisanal fads. They're kind of just thrown together with whatever they got, Those ones out there in Costa Rica, they're like industrial. They were put out by a ship, they were really, really thought out well and
Yeah, they're
put
like
in. Yeah.
$15,000.
They're more than that. I mean, the budget that they put out, they used to put them out and um and maintain them. It's a lot of work and a lot of time going in. But I feel like from what I've heard, and I've never been out there, so if anybody listening uh has thoughts about this, please feel free to chime in. um you get to a fad and it's really good, like talking like 20, 30, 40 blue marlin bites off of it, and then like you pick at them and you whack them all day, say you catch 20, 25, and then the next day it's not nearly as good, you know because so I think what happens is like, and this is my theory now with all the fishing, whether it's free range fishing or fad fishing, is like, even though we're catching and releasing the fish, we bother them enough that they're going to change what they're doing, because the experience of getting caught and released has definitely fucked them up for a day or two, or I don't know how long, but the tagging data that I've seen from the sat tags seems to indicate that they kind of swim one direction after they get caught.
Yeah.
So, do you feel the same way, like in your experiences?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, I've seen some I guess info back on the sat tags and stuff, and like you said, I mean, sometimes it seems like they just haul ass and go far away, or
Yeah.
but sometimes you catch them and they just sit right back to where they were, and that's their home.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, they're not all the same, but I feel like
but
for the
yeah, I
most.
mean, but yeah, if you're on a fad and you're wearing them out on a fad, I mean, you just, but I don't know, I could be wrong, I haven't fished the fads in Costa Rica, but I would assume that after a couple of days of good fishing on one fad, I mean, can't see it still produce big numbers, but
Yeah, I just feel like it changes their behavior just enough, and maybe they come back to it in a couple days, but like it
Well,
changes.
maybe it like their attitude off all the caught ones swim away, and the ones that aren't caught follow them or
Yeah,
something.
maybe a new batch of fish just finds it,
Yeah.
you know. But like I definitely have heard stories where like, oh yeah, we had 40 bites at a fad and we caught, I just feel like sometimes when the fish is that good and the fish are that frothed up and they're feeding, like you're gonna if you're gonna miss them or see them until you actually catch them, and then they're not gonna bite for the rest of the day. So if you like have a great ratio in the morning or that entire day, and then like there's none left, I think then you got to kind of move. From what I experience is they feel like they got to move on to the next one,
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting. And I see the reason why I wanted to talk about this topic is because I saw in the bite that they were putting some fads off of Texas, and there's some off of Puerto Rico that the government's putting out, and I don't know if I'm pretty sure it's the the fishing game of Texas or whatever it is. And if anybody has any any info on this, feel free to chime in. But I just find it hard to believe that with the meat fishing, like in a place like Costa Rica or the DR, where the most people that are sport fishing or catch and release marlin fishing, like the impact is minimal. You start anchoring fads off the mid-Atlantic here or off the Gulf Coast, 60 miles away, like they're going to congregate fish and they're going to work until all the fish are gone. Whether it's mahis or tunas, I see it here in the Washington Canyon with no fads. I don't know what in the hell goes on underwater in the corner of that canyon, but there's tunas there all of the time. And people, when it's good, the tunas and the sharks and the whales and everything is there. And I just feel like I don't know how much pressure a place like that can take.
Yeah.
I get concerned, like if you say for example, you put one in 1,000 fathoms outside the Baltimore, and a piece, and you're like, oh man, look at the water. There's pretty blue water out there. It's a no-brainer. Everybody's going to go there and pick it clean. And I see it happen with the mahis on the lobster pots, or mahis or what have you on the lobster pots here. And I don't really have a problem with people going out there and catching their fish. I'm not saying that, but I just think that the idea of having government sponsored industrial fads off the coast of the US the continental US might take some
Well, it definitely
some
might.
thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it, alters some fish patterns and stuff too. If we start
Yeah.
putting them all up and down the coast or something.
Yeah. And like I guess one argument is, oh well, they're congregate more, their fish are congregated so they'll breed. And that may or may not be true, but if we're killing them faster than they breed,
Yeah.
then we're having a problem, and I don't mean to get all green on anybody, but I'm really I'm not saying I'm concerned about it, but I have my thoughts on it, and I feel like
Yeah.
like
I mean, I don't know. I feel like, but I don't know. I feel like we're a ways away from putting them up and down the East Coast. But
oh
I don't
God,
know.
I hope so. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean they're talking about these windmills. I mean, I know the windmills are going up off of Massachusetts, and they're working on putting them off up here out of Ocean City. So, and they're talking about putting some floating ones off out there. Like I feel like the oil rigs in Texas, like or in the Gulf Coast, they're so far from land that you really got to the work to get to them and really invest the time and the effort. But if you're putting them, and I'm pretty sure that they're putting them these fads in closer to where these guys have been catching the whites and the sails the last year. And I think it's going to take the art out of fishing, understanding water and fishing, but I also think that it could create some issues when it comes to overfishing, I guess. I mean, I don't want to say that recreational, we definitely don't don't have the same impact as like large commercial operations, but I'm not, you'd be naive to say that you don't have an impact, you know. I mean, I've seen it, and I've killed my fair share of tuna, so I'm not standing on a soapbox. I just think it's something that people need to think about,
Yep.
especially governments. You know, if people like the guys in the DR, like ponga fishermen putting out fads, catching whatever they can off of it, that's one thing. Start putting fads off of a place that every boat has a sonar, and every boat's going to kill whatever they're legally allowed to kill.
Yeah.
Might start to think about something.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
change something.
We'll probably get crushed. Not just become a liberal, sounds like. So
Sounds like it.
Yeah. So just something to think about. I don't know. Do you have any more thoughts on that?
Not really.
Do you enjoy fishing fads, or do you get tired of it?
I mean, I like it when I'm
Like,
in DR, you know, like when
yeah,
I'm in DR, I know that's what I'm doing, you know,
yeah,
but
yeah,
other than that, I'm fine without them. I don't have an urge to put them anywhere else, but
yeah,
definitely in DR, it's, you know, it's like that's what you're going there for. You're fishing for smaller fish, you're fishing for numbers. And, you know, so I think it makes it, you know, it's fun, you know, that's what you're there for, you know.
I feel like the DR is like an angler's destination. Like you're going there, you're like
Yeah, you're going there to get practice, you know, like,
yeah,
you know,
to
like for
practice.
my guys, it was great, you know, like get them reps, you know, like
Yeah.
where else could I take them and get
See,
bites like that, you know?
yeah, especially with the blues there. They're aggressive little creature there. They'll definitely you got to stay on your A game to really have a good day there. You can, I
Yeah,
mean, I
they're
think,
hungry. You know, they could be, you know, we definitely missed our share, but you know, you get bites, it's fun. And, you know, where else are you going to do that in the Caribbean, you know?
yeah. Yep.
But I'm sure there's places, especially if you keep putting fads. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of places popping up where you
Where
start
the
seeing some crazy numbers.
yeah, where the fishing was like there was some fishing, and then there was really good fishing because of the fish
Because of
congregating, you know, and
the fads and then because of the sonar too, you know?
yeah, for sure. And yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe taking the art out of fishing coming from somebody who runs a boat with a sonar is just probably a little bit hypocritical, but I have my theory. I have my opinions. I don't really give a fuck. Yeah, I don't know. I just found it interesting that they were putting those fads off of Texas or off the continental US, and I'm pretty sure their government, at least the government, I'm sure the government approved, if not government funded, which I find interesting, but it'll be a good test. I really hope that they don't ever put them out of here, even though we've tried on the blood money to put fads out, much to my dismay. But
Texas boys make their own rules, so
yeah,
we're not worried about it.
yeah, we tried that once. We lost all three of them. The fads gone like immediately. Throw it over the side. And you like pay the thing, throw the thing over the side. Oh, I wonder where that went. So I'm pretty sure two of them tumbled down the 100 fathom line.
Too deep.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, that's interesting. And I do think that it does improve fishing certain places, you know, but I don't necessarily, if you're catch and release fishing, I think it's fine. It definitely is going to alter how they, you know, I think it mean years experience is that they're definitely not always, if you keep on hitting a group of fads or a fad for a long time, they're going to change their pattern and not be there. And as far as, you know, catching meat fish off of them, which I've never really had, um, that's going to be an interesting experiment in Texas.
Yeah.
So, um,
Yeah,
so yeah,
see. You know how
We're,
far offshore they are?
I want to say like 60 to 80 miles right there where they fish.
So not too far, but
No, but I mean, it's definitely within range of the majority of boats, like the type of boats that would fish out of Texas or the Gulf Coast, or the United States. We just have the resources here that, like, going 60 or 80 miles, especially to a place that there's going to be fish, or where you have a good chance of having fish. That makes it a lot easier to say, hey, I'm going to go 100 miles because I know this thing's there and it's going to be holding. Like when we talk on the dock here in Ocean City, and we see a piece of water out there 70, 80 miles, and it's like a whole thing. Like, should we go? Should we not go? Like, is it going to be there? Is it for real? What is it? We did this in the mid-Atlantic. We ran 130 miles. Everybody ran up there to the Toms. And it was like a whole big thing. Like, there really wasn't anywhere to go. And everybody I talked to would be like, are you going up there? Are you going up there? And everybody's like, yeah, I think I'm going to go up there. Like, I'm like, where else the fuck are we going to go? Like, there was no other place. And everybody that I was talking to, like, we all knew that they were going to be there because I'd like to think that we kind of have an idea of what we're looking for, and they were there, but that's a big gamble. But if you have a giant fat or an oil rig or something there that that fish are going to congregate around, you just go to it. You don't even think about it, just like they do in the Hudson Canyon and the 100 Square and the Washington Canyon, corner of the Washington. They just go, and that the life is going to be there, and whether you can make it happen, that's on you, but the fish are going to be there. And then I got a whole nother thing about feeding fish to sharks. I don't know.
Yeah, we won't get in the shark problem.
Yeah, I think that's been covered many times on many different podcasts. Not only our own or the old one.
Any better.
No. So we had some listener questions. I think we could do that next.
Yep.
We can just go ahead and read them if you would.
All right, we got Ryan Jones.
You can summarize them.
Yep. Ryan Jones. Got a 28 regulator out of Virginia Beach. Fishes mostly mid-Atlantic tournaments on a charter boat.
The good old spring mix. The boat that
Yeah. It says he's a decent angler, wants to take the next step to be a real tournament angler. Where can he go? What boat? Captain mates programs can he fish with? Where he could get advice and get better as an angler. He says he's hooked a few marlin, but he wants to get better. He's like, I'm willing to travel, and also if there's any local boats that he could ride on for teaching and repetitions, any advice or help, he would greatly appreciate.
Yeah, man.
What's your area? What do you got for him? Well, I'll start then.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're willing to travel, I can tell you, there's no place like Guatemala. Go fish with David Salazar and get some reps on sailfish and, occasional marlin here or there, but that's some sick fishing, calm, and you get plenty of bites and, fish with some good guys down there. I definitely enjoy fishing down there.
So there's in my mind, if you really focus on getting better at hooking fish, there's 4 places in my mind that have the numbers that in a 3-day period you could really make 3 or 4 day period of fishing, you could really make some really, really big improvements. I gotta say, I'm saying obviously the Cabo area from Cabo to Mag Bay is probably your best bet when it comes to just full on wide open fishing and getting 60 bites a day, that's probably going to be your best bet for the most consistent, incredible fishing that you're going to see. That's going to get you the most bites. Guatemala and Costa Rica are both very consistent destinations. And then Isla Mujeres, Mexico. I think if you're an angler, a deadbait angler, and you want to get good at white marlin fishing, I still don't think that there's a better place than Isla. And understanding, being able to deal with the Atlantic sails there and the kind of finicky, fickle nature that they can find themselves in there. You know, sometimes they're full on and it's full on head and shoulder bites, but a lot of the time it's a lot of following around and understanding, you know, how to get the fish to bite, going from trying to tease him, wind it up, drop it, jig it a couple times, and then getting it in the free spool when you get the bite. I feel like that is a place that is kind of underrated in the last couple years, and the fishing hasn't been that good consistently for like months on end, but around Valentine's Day is typically when it's the best there. And you can, if you have the days where you have a couple trolling days and then you get to see the cutters and the bird fishing and that, and experience that is the best experience, I feel like, if you have the fishing in Isla. Guatemala is incredible. I mean, it's consistent too. I would say consistency in Guatemala is probably a little bit better than Costa Rica the last few years.
I mean, as far as sailfish goes,
yeah. And I mean, you know, here, like, both Costa Rica and Guatemala are good practice for here, in the fact that you're going to see the majority sails, but you will throw in a marlin there, because we see the majority white marlins, but then you throw in a blue marlin every once in a while up here. That can make or break. That can really separate yourself up here as a team. If you say everybody catches 4 or 5 whites and you catch 4 or 5 in a blue and you convert on your blue, that's a big deal. Yeah. So I think any one of those places in the winter, and the DR can be consistent too. You know, right about now, the October, November, December moon can be really good.
Yep, DR.
As far as people to fish,
charter boats there.
Yeah, as far as people to fish with,
we can fish with you
in Eastland. Well, here up in Ocean City, we don't travel anymore, so in Isla, the Obsession is probably a good one. Any of those boats from Oregon Inlet that go to Isla typically are good boats to fish on. They know what they're doing. They're dialed in Isla, and they've been catching whites and sails, all a lot for a long time. I think it's really important to specify when you step on the boat that, hey man, I'm here to learn, and I want to have a rod in my hand. And I don't know if you're going with a group or if you're going by yourself or what have you, but letting everybody know that I'm here to learn and I want to be involved, because there's much more to being a good angler than just hooking the fish. If you want to get into higher level tournament fishing, the idea of being able to fish as a team and understand your role as an angler and help the mates keep baits in the water, I think is a good attribute to have. And if you pay attention to everything that's going on in these areas, you'll get better and build confidence and be able to go to a lesser fishery like the East Coast and be confident when you do get your 1 or 2 shots a day. If you're, Ocean City here, you're lucky to get 4 or 5 bites. So if you're an angler, unless you're the only angler, you're probably only going to get 1 or 2 bites over the course of the day, and you don't want to mess them up. So any one of those places, but Isla, I think our group fishes, and the couple years we went to Isla, we had a great ratio, and our guys always go to Central America on the Pacific side. And I just sometimes I feel like those sales on the Pacific are a little too forgiving. They're big, they're aggressive, they're it's basically if you can control the backlash, you're probably going to hook them. Where I think in Isla, it's a little bit more of a finesse game, and your drop back needs to be a lot smoother and free, or they're gonna drop you, or you're gonna miss them. So I think they're both all those places, and then obviously Cabo, Mag Bay area is just if you're a straight up beginner, it's hard to beat that place because you can get yourself 10-15 bites a day on your own. You got to be on the right boat, and you got to have the right crew to want to make sure that if the fish are 100 miles away or 140 miles away, you're going to go there. But it's full on. It definitely, in my experience, it's so good that it really doesn't, it's not the best training for up here, but it's still awesome. And you learn how to fight fish effectively there, because those things are mean. Like we fought them for an hour before there.
Yeah.
Like you hook 5, and then that first guy who hooks 5, like if you got bit on the right long and the first of a 5 or 6 banger, you're fighting that fish for an hour.
Yeah, you're done.
So, and that's something too that, a lot of people just think with the fishing we do, hooking the fish and backing up, hooking the fish is the hard part, which it typically is. But understanding how to fight the fish and work with the captain to get the fish up if he sounds is something important too that I think is lost on a lot of people lately. And the DR is a great place. Like those fish get kind of down and dirty sometimes, and you got relatively light tackle, so you got to understand how to apply drag and the captain needs and how to work with the captain to get a fish up if he's deep. And I think that's a lost art for sure with this type of fishing. So
absolutely.
I don't know. I love all those places. I'm super fortunate to have gone. And El Salvador too. We're going there at the end of the month.
For that.
I'm pretty excited. My birthday is on the 2nd. It'll be our first day of fishing, I think. So I've always wanted to catch a marlin on my birthday. I missed one year out of here 2 years ago. But I've never caught a marlin on my birthday. So super excited about that. And El Salvador is good. But the places with the cruise, Guatemala, Costa Rica, I mean, pretty much everybody you fish with in Costa Rica is going to be able to teach you how to fish. It's just the fishing there last couple years is because of the pressure and the number of boats there, it's not been nearly as consistent as say Cabo or Guatemala, in my opinion, per boat. So, but the best teams in the world in between January, deadbait teams in the world between January and April are in Costa Rica. So if you could hop on with any of them, a lot of them are private boats, but your learning experience, if you can find yourself on a high level boat, your learning experience will go, your level of confidence will grow quickly. It's amazing how few reps can build a good angler if they're open to a little bit of, how would you put it, Nick, on your boat, a little bit of forceful criticism. Is that probably how it works on the wire transfer? I'm a little bit more patient these days, so I just kind of
constructive criticism.
Well, from what I heard on your boat, it's a little bit more forceful. I'm a little more tactful these days. So if the captain's yelling at you, don't take it personally. They all yell. So, but that's my opinion on trying to become a better deadbait angler.
I like it.
Yeah. You gotta get rich down a couple of those places.
Absolutely. But got another question for you.
Okay.
Jetty girl sport fishing.
Cat come in on you?
No, Charger.
Hi, Gianna. Little Atlas, let me see him. Hi, buddy. Look. Look at the little guy.
And your first appearance on TV?
Look at him. Look at that hair. He looks a lot like you, buddy.
Want to put the headset on?
He'll be back for an interview.
I'm excited for it.
All right, yeah. Second question, Jetty Girl Sport Fishing for Anthony. They fish Ocean City, and they ask, what are your two favorite dredges, and do you change anything in your dredges from marlin fishing to tuna fishing?
All right. My two favorite dredges are the Lumo green squid dredge, and we fish it with like these silver mud flaps behind it, but I prefer not to fish the silver mud flaps. And then the red squid dredge with black mud flaps, which I do like the black mud flaps on the back of the red squid dredge for some reason. And just rigged as they come from my uncle, Squid Nation. Just I have started putting another tier in front of a single tier in front of our red squid dredge. So we fished those for the last 3 years almost religiously every day, no matter what. And then this year we came up with another one that was like a black and blue with some crack minnows and those fish down sea fish. And I was pretty happy with how it worked out. Seeing a couple fish to that side. So I don't really change it. Red Lumo squid dredge and then this blue and black with a little bit of silver in it. Fish down sea. We were fishing a quadruple dredge on one side this year because we found ourselves fishing on a fair bit of bait. So we changed. That's the first time in 3 years that we've changed our dredges, but typically it was the Lumo and the red. And we put the Lumo squid chain over the Lumo side and the red squid chain or the pink squid chain over the red side. And every once in a while, if there's a lot of flyers, we'll pull the blue squid chain or the flippy floppy chains. And that's it. We don't put too much thought into the dredges.
And the same for tunas, right? Same thing.
Well, I have not fished. I used to fish dredges religiously for tunas, but I found that what happens is I think a lot of people understand tunas as like this big explosion that comes out of nowhere, but they actually track the boat quite some time before you actually get the bite a lot of the times, right? So they're down there, they follow the boat like a marlin, but you don't see them. They don't show themselves like a marlin does. They follow the boat 10, 15, 20 feet down or deeper, and they'll follow the boat, and then they'll look up and one of them will commit, and hopefully the leader commits, and then the rest of them commit suicide with them. But I found that if we pull dredges, the cover-ups, this is early season tuna fishing, May and April, or not May, April, May and June, typically out of Ocean City. I found that the schools of tunas would follow us, and if the dredges were in the water, they would follow us a lot longer. It took a lot longer to get bites, and and the cover-ups weren't nearly as aggressive, and they weren't as many fish as if we were just fishing all surface stuff. And it seemed like when they committed, they really committed. Sometimes with the dredge, you had to, like, if you marked them really good, you had to be like, move the dredge and pull the dredge out of the water, and you'd get a bite, but it wasn't instantaneous. I will say something that we've been doing for the last couple of years on the Blood Money is we mark a fish and I wait 30 seconds. If he doesn't show up, I kind of like wind the dredge up. And a lot of times like if we mark a marlin, and I learned this tuna fishing, but if we mark a marlin, I wait 30 seconds and I'm like, hey, wind them dredges up. And typically we get them to show themselves. So I don't necessarily think you got to put a lot of effort, whatever you have confidence in as far as the dredges, it works. And then just focus on fishing close to them. And if you're marking them and you're not getting bit, maybe wind them up as you're still trolling to maybe get another to entice a bite. So that's kind of something that we've been doing. And like I said, I feel like the tunas definitely track the boat a lot deeper. And I think if the dredges are there, they tend to track the boat even deeper, in my opinion. And then they're less willing to commit, like really commit. Like you're driving along. Like if I was pulling a tuna spread with 10 or 12 rods, I'm driving along and I get a good mark and I got the dredges in the water, I might get 6 or 8 bites. But if I mark them really good with none, they're coming for you.
Well, if you're already pulling 8 or 10 baits anyway, that's
yeah. And it's a lot. The dredges are good because they're not on the surface. So when I was doing that, I was pulling them on a super heavy lead, and I was pulling the dredges up close to the boat with all the tuna stuff in the back, 8 to 12 rods, and I was pulling them, pulling the rods further back, but the dredges a lot tighter than I would marlin fishing. Maybe I was doing it, maybe that's why, but I just found the fish a lot less willing to commit with the dredges. And I will say that if you're going to use the dredges tuna fishing, the Fat Daddy dredges, Squid Nation Fat Daddy dredges, which are the little squids that have like 80 or 90 squids on them, work really well. I prefer to use those for tuna fishing, for yellowfin fishing, rather than the regular 8-inch squids or 9-inch squids that we use for marlin fishing. So, but if you look over and if you're fishing somewhere where there's a lot of flyers out there in the deep, or you look over and you're like, oh man, look at all those white marlins cutting on those red squids, it's probably a good indicator of what you should be pulling. Try to match the hatch, just like the fly fishing people do.
Match the hatch.
Yeah. So
cool.
Yeah, man. That's if we don't have any questions, that's kind of all I got. Fads, practice, dredges.
That's it.
So hopefully I get one more day fishing 80-degree water in October. Maybe get a couple more bites.
I hope so. On
this dismal season. For the blood money. Fishing overall has been good, but just
hopefully we'll have some great fishing in El Salvador.
Yeah, man.
We'll do a pod down there.
We should. So all right, bro. Well, it was fun. Thank you everybody for listening. If you guys have any questions, comments, feel free. If you're disappointed or enthusiastic, feel free to let us know. I'm used to the disappointment. So check out Hook Optics and Front Runner. Thank you for them for being our sponsors. So see you guys later. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, guys. See you soon.
See you.